Some 5.0 Coyote F-150s cross 300,000 miles on the original engine. Others need a timing repair that runs $1,500 to $3,000 before they're halfway there. The gap between those two trucks isn't luck. It's one routine most owners never actually do. If you own a 2011 or newer F-150 with the 560 Coyote V8, here's the answer up front. Before I explain a single part, you still change the oil on the normal rhythm, every 5,000 to 7,500 miles. But every 30,000 miles, you run what I'll call the Coyote survival check. And it's 4 things most owners skip. 1. Review your oil history and how much it's using. 2. Check the oil level and look for leaks. 3. Listen for a cold start rattle and scan for timing codes. 4. Check the cooling system and any sign it's run hot. That's the whole service. The rest of this is why those 4 catch the failure that ends these engines, and how to do each one. Why 30,000 miles specifically? Because it's long enough that the quiet problems, a slow leak, creeping oil use, a timing system just starting to wear, have time to show themselves, but short enough to catch them before they turn into a repair. Your oil changes still happen every 5,000 to 7,500. The 30K mark is just when you stop and actually inspect instead of only servicing. Here's the mechanism, kept simple. Your Coyote uses oil pressure to control the cam timing, a system Ford calls TIVCT. When the oil is dirty, too thin, or low, that control turns unstable. The timing parts, the phasers and the chain tensioners, stop getting clean, steady pressure, and they start to wear. The first thing you hear is a rattle on cold start that fades after a second or two as pressure builds. Let it go long enough and you're into that timing repair. So, every one of the 4 checks traces back to the same place, keeping the oil right and catching the warning early. As a supporting detail, the small screens and solenoids that feed those phasers also clog with varnish from old oil. Same root cause, same fix. So, start with the oil, because it's the lever that moves everything else. Run the correct Ford specification. On F-150 Coyotes, that's 5WQ20 through 2020 and 5WE30 from 2021 on, in a quality full synthetic with a good filter. One practical note. The 2018 and newer trucks hold about 10 quarts, up from roughly 8 on the earlier engines. So make sure it's actually filled. An underfilled Coyote is a starved one. Don't stretch the interval. 5,000 to 7,500 miles is the window the high mileage engines tend to live in, not 10. And match it to how you drive. A truck that tows, idles, or runs short trips is harder on oil, so live at the short end. Between changes, pull the dipstick now and then, which matters more on some years than others, and that's the next part. Because which Coyote you have shifts the risk. 4 quick reads. 2011 to 2014. The simplest, toughest bottom end, but the timing chain tensioners were the weak point. So on these, oil discipline and that cold start listen matter most. 2015 to 2017. The cleaner used pick. Mainly inspect the intake runner flaps on a high mile one, since they can crack with age. 2018 to 2020. More power and direct injection added. But some of these burn oil, a quart, every 1,000 to 3,000 miles in affected trucks, usually down to the piston ring and crankcase ventilation design rather than abuse. And the newer cylinder walls can't simply be rebored, so a low oil score can mean a new engine. Check the level often. 2021 and up, moved to 5W30, added cylinder deactivation, and switched to a belt-driven oil pump, rated for the engine's life, though some owners replace it deep into high mileage. The same oil discipline applies across all of them. So, let's make those 4 checks concrete. What you're actually doing at each one, oil history and usage. Keep your receipts and know your number. Topping off a little between changes isn't automatic failure, but on the oil burner years, a quart every 1,000 miles or worse is worth watching, while a quart across a whole interval is closer to normal. The point is to know your trend, not guess at it. Oil level and leaks. Check the level on flat ground, and actually look around and under the engine, the valve covers, the oil pan, the front of the block. A small seep you catch now is far cheaper than the slow leak that runs the engine low later. Cold start rattle and codes. This is the one you can do tomorrow morning. Before you've driven anywhere, start it cold and listen to the first few seconds, then back it up with a basic code scanner. A cheap reader flags a P0-16 or P0-17 before the dash ever lights up. A rattle that clears in a second or two is the early warning. One that lingers or shows up alongside a timing code is your sign to stop driving and get it inspected. Cooling and overheat. Check the coolant level and condition, watch the temperature under load, and treat any real overheat as serious. Heat is one of the faster ways to damage the phasers and gaskets, which is exactly why cooling sits in the core 4 and not off to the side. So here's the checklist you can screenshot. Every 5,000 to 70,100 miles, correct spec oil, a quality filter, check the level between changes, and shorten the interval if you tow or idle a lot. Every 30,000 miles, review the service records and oil usage, look for leaks, do a cold start test, scan for cam timing codes, and check the coolant and any overheat history. Stop and diagnose immediately if you get a new cold start rattle, a falling oil level, a P0-16 or P0-17 type timing code, an overheat, or a misfire that won't quit. 2 secondary checks belong at 30K if anything looks off. The spark plugs and coils, since a misfire stresses the whole engine, and 1 optional add-on, a catch can, mostly worth considering on the oil burner use, where the crankcase system pulls a little oil mist back through the intake. Neither is the core service, the 4 checks are. Notice what's not on that list. No full tune-up, no additives, no flushing every fluid in the truck. This isn't a 100,000-mile maintenance guide. It's the short list that protects the one system that actually ends these engines. Now the noise question, because owners lose real sleep over Coyote sounds. Think in 3 tiers, usually less concerning. A steady injector or valve train tick that's always been there. Plenty of these engines just make it. Worth investigating. A new cold start rattle that disappears once oil pressure comes up. Act now. That rattle plus a timing code, rough running, or a low oil level. The thing that matters isn't tick versus rattle. It's new, changing, or symptom-linked noise. A sound that's always been there is a different story from one that showed up last month. And be clear on what this can and can't do. It's prevention, not a cure. If the chain is already stretched or the phasers are already worn, no oil change reverses that. That's the repair bill. If a 2018 to 2020 block has already scored from running low, you're past maintenance and into replacement. By that point, the bill isn't an oil change. It's the 4-figure timing job we opened with, or an entire engine. The point of the 30,000-mile check is to catch the warning signs while they're still cheap to fix, and be realistic about the headline number. With this kind of care, 200,000 to 300,000 miles is a reasonable target on a Coyote, not a miracle. And 400,000 is the high end that takes discipline plus a little luck on top of it. The maintenance is the part you can actually move. And if you're shopping for one instead of maintaining one, here's the 60-second version of the same check. Start it stone cold and listen in the first few seconds. Most healthy Coyotes start fairly quiet. Never inspect a used Coyote warm. A warm engine hides the exact cold start rattle you're there to hear. Ask for oil change records and treat lifetime or 10,000-mile intervals as a yellow flag. On a 2018 to 2020, check the oil level and ask how much it uses, and ask about any overheat history. On the newer block, one bad overheat can cost the whole engine. A truck with documented tight oil service is worth more than a cheaper one with no paper trail. So, here's the one rule. You can't control every failure. Engines can go wrong even when you do everything right. But oil condition, oil level, and reacting to the early warning signs are the part you do control. And on a Coyote, that's a huge share of whether it reaches 300,000 miles or stops short. Run the right oil, change it early, and treat 30,000 miles as a real checkpoint instead of a skipped one. The exception worth remembering? If it's already rattling on cold start, don't just change the oil and hope. Get the timing system looked at, because by then, you may be past prevention. And even the toughest Coyote rides behind a transmission with its own one critical service most owners skip, which is where a lot of these trucks quietly turn expensive.